And you're welcome to a special election coverage. I am Judith TV, and of course joined here by my co-host Joe Hansen. Now today, Americans head to the polls to decide the next leader of the free world. The 2024 presidential election is shaping up to be one for the history books.
Well, no, that's right, Judith. The build-up to the election, we've seen a dramatic shift in the Democratic Party, with Joe Biden withdrawing from the race and endorsing Kamala Harris as the nominee. Meanwhile, before that, Donald Trump escaped an assassination attempt that many have seen as one of the reasons he actually shot up in the polls before the elections.
Speaking about the polls, they are neck and neck, with Harris and Trump locked in a fierce battle. Key swing states like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio will be crucial in determining the outcome and not seeing the future. Some have said there might be a repeat of the past. We have a tie so far, and just Harris leading by a very small margin. Now, what happens if such a case that there is a tie?
Well, if there is such a, bizarre case where there's a tie, the most notable instance was the 1800 presidential election between Thomas Jefferson and, of course, Aaron Burr, which ended in a tie. The U.S. 12th Amendment kicks in, and it states the House of Representatives would be forced to choose the president by ballot from the top three choices of the electors. Voters are taken by each state, with each state having one vote, and a majority is required.
Well, still going into history and more recent now, but to put this into perspective, the 2020 United States presidential election saw the Democratic ticket of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris defeating incumbent Republican President, and that's Donald Trump. Now, this year's election is expected to have high voter turnout, similar to 2020.
That's right. Well, throughout the day, night, and for those in Nigeria here burning the midnight oil with us, we'll bring you live updates from across the country, expert analysis, and insightful commentary as well. We'll also delve into the key issues during this election, from the economy to healthcare, and you can name it.
One thing for certain is reproductive rights. Some notable events leading to the election has been quite crucial. For example, the Democratic primaries, it was nothing like we've ever seen before when it comes to primaries in the United States elections. A crowded field narrowed down to Kamala Harris, and it was a unanimous choice when it comes to Kamala Harris from all delegates when it comes to the Democratic Party. There was also the GOP convention, the Republican National Convention, that solidified Donald Trump as their nomination. Now, the presidential debate as well was one crucial event leading up to today, November 5th. Now, Harris and Trump went head-to-head on key issues. It was quite the debate. Now, state polling averages as well as one thing to look at, a closer look at the numbers that matter the most. So I would say stay with us for the latest on this very pivotal moment in American democracy. Who will lead? Are they going back with Donald Trump, the Republican candidate? That's Donald J. Trump. Or are they moving forward with the first female president for the free world? And it's none other than Kamala Harris. We've got a long night or day ahead of us, but Joe and I are here to guide you through it.
That's right. So do want to stay with us, and we'll bring to you every single thing that you need to know, especially as we count down. And most importantly, your commentaries and your participation will let you know how we'll actually make this ride a very, very jolly good one. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll go straight into it. The voting is in process, most importantly, and what are people saying, reactions, and so much more. We'll be right back on The Ballot.
And you're welcome back. This is The Ballot, our live coverage of the U.S. elections. And we are going to start off tonight with a very in-depth conversation. And this time, we're looking at the implications on Africa ahead of the results of the elections. Which way it swings turn out. What would it mean for bilateral relationship for the African continent as it pertains to the United States of America? Now, both sides have been very interesting. We know that Kamala Harris has said repeatedly that she would consolidate on the past and forge ahead a newer and better America. And we know that Donald Trump has said that he will definitely be more stronger on situations that pertains to immigration issues. He would deport those who are illegal in the country, and he will be more stricter with the borders and close the border. While Kamala Harris has said regarding immigrations, it's going to be a more holistic approach. Now, remember that during Donald J. Trump's administration, the 2016 administration, he referred to Nigeria in 2018 as the S-hole. Now, we're going to talk about all of that, what their policies will mean for the African continent. And joining us to do that, we have with us on video chat, we have Nnamdi Chieku. He is an author of Africa on the Precipice, and he joins us live from Atlanta, Georgia, United States of America. And also joining us as well is Dr. Uche Nwosu. He is the co-founder, GIA Africa Foundation, and he joins us as well. Well, very well done, gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining us today on the show, on our live coverage here, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much.
In the meantime, I've also been informed that we're joined by Collins Nweke, and he joins us live via video. He is a global affairs analyst, and he joins us live via video chat as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Let's just get started very quickly. I'm going to start with you, Nnamdi, and talk about what the outcome of the elections will mean, whether it's Donald J. Trump winning the elections or Kamala Harris winning the elections. What would it mean for a U.S.-Africa bilateral relationship?
Thank you for the platform, Judith. I appreciate it. I'm afraid to say that there isn't going to be much difference, generally speaking, regardless of which candidates or which party wins the election in terms of American and African relations, or specifically American and Nigerian relations. I would personally characterize the U.S. foreign policy over the last century to be dipped in imperialism, American imperialism, and effectively white supremacy. I don't see that changing between candidate Harris or candidate Trump. I think it's going to be more of the same. In terms of economic engagement with Africa, I don't see that improving on each person. And so the only difference that I would see from a foreign policy standpoint is that Trump is going to be a lot more transactional and even blunt in terms of his foreign engagement, not just with Africa, but with the rest of the world. Trump has been on record to tell Ukraine that if he was to get into power, they better make a deal with Russia, and effectively he's going to sell them down the river if he gets into power. As far as the Middle East, he's been on record to say that Benjamin Netanyahu needs to hurry up and finish the job, so to speak, the job of the genocide that I believe is happening as far as the Palestinians as Gaza is concerned. And when it comes to Africa, he has no consideration, no kind of innovation or interest in what happens in Africa. I think he's been very clear in terms of what he feels about Africans and Africa itself as a bilateral party. As far as candidate Harris is concerned, I really don't see a pure ideological leaning as far as she's concerned in multiple jurisdictions, specifically with Africa. And you get the sense that she's more of an instrument rather than a protagonist. I don't see a clear ideological stance. I don't see from her any solutions, any strong, decisive prescriptions for all the multitudes of issues that the United States faces, whether that's in the Middle East, in Europe, or in the Asian Pacific as well. So unfortunately for us Africans and for the world, I don't see much changing as far as U.S. engagement with global geopolitics.
Very interesting. But let's go straight to Collins Nweke, global affairs analyst. Collins, it's been a countdown for a long time. It's been a countdown for a minute, and the countdown is still on. Most importantly, Africa seems to look at the United States elections as a showpiece, and not just that, we see Africans really getting involved. We've seen musical displays, we've seen songs and so on, all cheering for the United States elections. Can you let us into what the United States elections truly means, especially for Africa, when it comes to the following?
What you have just described is one side of the story, and that side of the story is essentially Africa's love for merrymaking, showmanship, and all of that. And so American politics, involves quite, a bit of, showmanship, merrymaking, and that resonates with Africa. But like I said, that's just one side of the story. Because another side of the story is also the fact that there are a reasonable number of Africans who actually query why Africans should be interested in American politics. America is America, Nigeria or Africa is Africa, and we have no business getting excited, maybe even overworked about what is going on there. But the fact remains that decisions taken in the U.S. Actually has a way of affecting the rest of the world. I mean, the world has become such a global village, and America at this moment is the undisputable superpower of the world. And so, whoever becomes the president actually has a way of impacting the world. So, those who ask those cynical questions actually have to understand that that is actually the way it is now. It's also important to remember that when America elects its president, it elects a president for the United States of America, and the president realizes as well that he is there to serve the people. Now, extending their hands to other parts of the world by way of foreign policy, and they do that to the extent that it favors America, that it is in America's best interest. Now, when America votes to put money somewhere, they are doing that, looking at a return on that investment. For them, it is an investment. Now, the difference between the two candidates that we're seeing, or other candidates, be it Democrats, be it Republicans, is the fact that the interpretation of the foreign policy, from their own ideological perspective, could either be narrow or broad. Broad enough to see things, just beyond the nose. I'll give a very, very specific example. When the Democrats, for instance, decide that they are going to support financially job-creating, initiatives in Africa and Nigeria, for instance, they are doing that because it's part of their, immigration policy, where they say, okay, let us send money there to get those kids engaged in Africa so that they take away the pull factor that actually want to make them leave Africa. And, just to leave it at one example. So yes, the fair interest Nigerians or Africans because that's who we are. But on the other hand, there is also quite a lot of cynicism around why Africans, Nigerians should be excited about American elections.
Thank you so much for that. Let me come back to Dr. I want to bring Dr. Uche into this conversation, right? And pretty much ask about, I understand that. Let's come to you, Dr. Uche Odem, and then have this conversation really. And I'm piggybacking off of Nnamdi's last remark, and this time it's about just a disparity when it comes to both candidates and their plans for diaspora at large, and the plans for each continent at large. Now, USA is a powerhouse, no doubt about it. The free world, the leader of the free world, the largest economy, and so whether or not it needs all this bilateral relationship, and Africa is also at the forefront. But what Nnamdi also stated is that Kamala doesn't have a clear policy, and Donald has been very clear that it's going to be all about selfish interest. What do you make of that? Do you think that the Democrats, or Kamala representing the Democrats, do not have a clear policy for Africa, and Africa do not stand to benefit from both candidates?
Yeah, I share same thoughts with him, actually. The truth is this, is that no matter how Africans are excited, especially Nigerians, I mean, some people doing special songs and all, even dancing and showing a shobi because of American election. That's practically a waste of time and all. America is America. And the truth of the whole matter is that every country, how you know the true test, how you know the true heart of a leader is that a leader cares for his citizens. Very important. There's something that happened recently about the Binance man and all. You saw what happened. Joe Biden called President Tinubu because that man is a major pillar to the United States. He put a call across to him and all and thanked him for releasing him. Are you seeing that? It's all about their interest. Now, Africa is a very, very, the truth of the matter is, I was talking with somebody the other day. The person told me, he said that the American election, this one, all excited and all the rest of it. I was even saying something about that. Look at what's happening. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, it's like both of them are loggerheads. I told him, I said, the worst of Donald Trump and the worst of Kamala Harris, if we can even have the worst of them, it's even better for us in Nigeria or Africa. Our leaders should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, see what's going on out there. No matter what happened and the rest of, no matter what's going on, you can see how things are going smoothly. Despite have you heard anybody throw any bomb? Have you heard anything of such that people are giving for money, that people are snatching ballot boxes, are running away, and all the rest of it? Our own is not election. We do selection. We should learn the positives. That's exactly what we should learn. So nobody in Africa, no president in Africa has the right, or anybody in Africa has the right or has the moral impetus to criticize what's happening in America. America, they are doing well as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, the worst of democracies in America, worst of democracy in America, worst of democracy, if we have that in Africa, Africa will be a first world nation. And that's the truth. So as far as I'm concerned, we have a lot to learn, despite the fact that they're having all the whatever and all the rest of it. Let me tell you something. What they think about is America first. Whether Kamala Harris, America first. I remember when she came to Ghana not too long ago and all. They were pushing an agenda. She was pushing an agenda and everything. Donald Trump, same thing. He's pushing an agenda too. And you can see that they are all, every single thing they are doing, they are campaigning on their personal convictions. They are campaigning on issues. You can see, they're campaigning on issues. Not a place like Nigeria where people can just wake up and say, I want to be a president or I want to be a governor for no reason. These guys are campaigning on issues. These guys are purpose-driven. The Republicans stand for something. The Democrats stand for something. And that is it. So when Trump is saying, I will do this, I will do that, I love that. I love when people are sincere and genuine. That's why I like the kind of person Trump is. He's out there, he tells you what he's going to do, he sticks on it, and that is it.
Right.
But in Africa, no. You see somebody today is talking to the left, tomorrow is talking to the right and all. We have a lot to learn. I mean, all the presidents in Africa need to sit down, lock themselves up in a room for at least 3 months without ruling, allow their deputy to and learn what it is to a leader care for their people, and that's what the Americans are doing.
All right. Let me come back to you, Nnamdi, and then ask about the Nigeria diaspora community. And when I spoke to Mr. Dele Momodu earlier and I asked him this question, he said that the disparity between the two communities is quite interesting. There are Nigerians here, there are some Nigerians here, majority of Nigerians who actually support Donald J. Trump, and it's very different from the community, the Nigerian diaspora community. So I have to ask you, I'm certain you voted already. You are in Georgia, Atlanta, one of the swing states, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand is one of the swing states as well. So I have to ask you, what is the community's leaning in this election? Nnamdi, we cannot hear you. I understand you're muted. If you can unmute for us, please.
Can you hear me? You should be able to hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, so I do appreciate the dichotomy between Nigerians in the diaspora and Nigerians in Nigeria in terms of their perception and engagement with Trump. And I would only say that the difference is because the Nigerians in America have a lived experience of what it is to be black in America. And oftentimes there is a lack of association or disassociation that we Africans or Nigerians have with our concept of America and the lived experience of being in America. And so you will find a lot of Nigerians, I would say majority of Nigerians, don't want anything to do with Trump. Because on any level where you look at Trump, in terms of the character of the man, this is a convicted felon, a man who has also been accused and found guilty of sexual assault, a man who has a proven objective history of being racist and bigoted. Africans or Nigerians in America want nothing to do with that and don't see him as any kind of moral paragon or any kind of leader. They see him for what he is. He's a vacuous man who is very based in his instincts in terms of his intellect and intelligence. And the only thing that he has to sell to most of America is white supremacy. Now, the question is, how is it that Africans can, and we have to ask ourselves this question, how is it that Africans can have this kind of bizarre affinity for a man who economically has no interest or engagement with Africa? He's never talked about any kind of policy engagement with Africa with the likes of AGOA or Power Africa that we've seen with previous administrations. This is a man from a moral standpoint, whether it's biblical or whether it's from a Muslim standpoint, has failed every single moral test you can imagine. And then this is a man also from a leadership standpoint that continues to sow discord amongst Americans. And one wonders why and how is it that Africans can find a way to still promote such an individual. And unfortunately, you have to come to the conclusion that this is the scourge of white supremacy that we continue to face, some Africans continue to face. And the problem with white supremacy is that it holds the oppressor hostage and dehumanizes the oppressor, but it also turns the oppressed into agents of the oppressor. And so we have exposed ourselves and allowed white supremacy to continue to act as a scourge, to continue to act as an indoctrination that blinds us to reality. And what Africans have to understand is that no proximity to whiteness or white supremacy will ever empower you or will ever make you white. And so I find it tragic, I find it shameful to the degree that a lot of Nigerians find a way, contrive a way to support Trump, because this is a man that has clearly stated and has made it very obvious that he has no consideration for black people. So what does that say about our self-value, about our psyche? And then what does it say in terms of appreciation for domestic and foreign policy? I don't think it says too much. And that's why you see that dichotomy between Africans or Nigerians in Nigeria and those in the diaspora who are witnesses and who experience what Trump is as a former president and as a candidate as well.
Well, talking about Africa, just like you mentioned, let me see if we can get that clip from Ethiopia. I mean, you're worried, Nnamdi, why Africans are pushing the narrative, especially looking to take Trump back to the White House. But let's visit Ethiopia right now. There seems to be a very clear footage where the Ethiopians are actually trumping support as well for Donald Trump. We've seen that happen in Ethiopia. We've seen that happen in some parts of Africa. We do recall here in Nigeria as well, moments or days leading up to the United States elections, we do see many Nigerians even hoisting or waving the flag of the United States, although they are not charged for treason, by the way. I needed to add that very quickly. While they're doing that in their cars and so on, take notes. Nobody's charging them for treason. Nobody's saying, why are you doing that? Anyway, I'm going to go back to that. But Africa is going to have vibrant young population. Most importantly, we seem to be in the eye of every Western community. And now, two presidents vying for that seat. Let me talk to you very quickly, Collins Uche. What do you think Africa is doing to itself, being overly dependent on whichever way this election would swing?
I hope, but I want to believe that there is sufficient realization by African leaders that, number one, the individual African nations are sovereign nations. Number two, that they have no business meddling into the politics of other countries. But having said that, there is something called national interest, and foreign policy is actually driven by national interest. What is in your best interest? Now, in making that assessment, you need to ask yourself the question, and every country does that: who will be best for my country? Now, they put every other, emotions or sentiments apart and, use that as parameter to actually draw up their policy. Now, moral consideration, of course, is very, 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 very critical, very essential. So it is not like, okay, you don't want to care about the character of the person, yet you are dealing with someone, for instance, in the case of Trump, who is a convicted felon. Now, I think, similar question was raised during the Nigerian, 2023 election, I believe, where questions were asked about whether you would, like to raise your son to be one of the, candidates that was vying for the election then. So you see, African leaders indeed have to make decisions. They have to decide on which side to lean, but of course in a tacit manner, based on what is in their best overall interest. Because essentially, America is not going to do that for Africa. America and other Western powers are in Africa because of what they will get out of Africa, not because they want to do Africa a favor. So Africa has got to, African leaders have got to determine what they want and then, make themselves strong enough to be, strong negotiating, partners with the Western nations that are coming to do business with them.
All right, Mr. I'm going to put a pin on this conversation because we have to patch back to Washington, D.C., where we have our chief international correspondent, Afia Hagen, on standby. She is live at Howard University for the Harris Walls Campaign Watch Party, which is taking place at Harris's alma mater, which is the Howard University. And from what we understand, people are queuing to get in. Afia, what's the latest with you?
What an atmosphere is just here outside Howard University campus. And what you have is this enormous queue, which is actually going down now as people are going in. But when we got here, the queue is going right up into the road. And that is to get into this celebration, what they hope will be a celebration rally. It's an election night watch party. It's the first time that an electoral candidate has held an election night watch party at a university. And it's happening here at Howard University. Of course, this is the school that Kamala Harris went to. Harris is expected to be here later on this evening, and so you have got hundreds, if not thousands, of current students and former students queuing up to get into this momentous event. And like I said, what they hope will be a celebration.
All right, it's a celebration, no doubt. We could see everyone is happy, in a state of euphoria. It's much more like watching. But could you also bring us up to speed what Donald J. Trump is equally doing on the other side? We do hear that he's also having a watch party as well, while relaxing and cooling off with, in quotes, exclusive friends. Any updates on that as well? All right, in case you didn't hear me, let me repeat myself. I said you've told us what's going on there. We can see everyone is excited. There's happiness, all over everyone's faces. But could you also let us in if there's any information about Donald Trump? We do hear that he's also having a watch party, but it's quite exclusive, not as open as what we see there on the screen.
Yes, absolutely. The watch party that Donald Trump is having is a very private, a very small affair, very different to what's happening here. What's happening here is akin to a rally, basically. It's like the rallies that Harris has held in the past, whereas Donald Trump will be having a smaller watch party at his home in Florida. Just campaign staff, nowhere near as big as what's happening here just now. And, of course, President Joe Biden, who has a vested interest in the election, is going to be quietly watching the result at the White House. So yes, the Trump-Harris watch party is completely different across the board.
Just the same as their campaigning as well, leading to the elections, as well as, all the rhetoric from both of them, both policies, the debate, completely different, almost to the end of the road and still different. Afia, I understand that you have one of the guests there, one of the visitors or one of the attendees who would like to speak to us. Please go ahead.
Unfortunately, Judith, I did have actually the president of the Alumni Association debate. He had to get down to the Howard University Hospital, but when I spoke to him, he said that he was just so excited and so privileged and honoured that the Harris Walls campaign chose to have their watch party at Howard University. Like I said, this is the first time that an electoral candidate has ever chosen to have a watch party on a university campus. And so for it to be at Howard, a historically black university as well, is a real coup, and that's why you have such excitement. But also, I will mention very high security. Now, in this area, this is a college campus, so people can walk around all the time, people can drive up to the campus, but not today. There was a lot of road closures, a lot of police, a lot of security, as you can see, all the way up to pretty much the college campus. It's all about trying to keep the students and, of course, Harris safe. Yesterday, I was talking about the fact that Washington, D.C. has seen lots of security measures being put in place because people are worried that perhaps there might be some violence, there might be some trouble because of the election taking place and the result being declared over the next couple of days. So yes, very high security throughout Washington, D.C. and here around Howard University where this watch party is taking place.
All right. Just before we let you go, we do have very, very interesting gentlemen in whom we are indeed sharing the thoughts concerning Africa. Could you tell us very quickly, Afia, what Africans who are there at the alma mater, what are they saying regarding the victory for Kamala Harris and, of course, Donald J. Trump? Looking at the fact that there seems to be a little bit of scare, especially for those who are Africans, and concerning the repatriation and immigration challenges. Could you tell us what's on their mind, by the way?
Well, yes, it really is that people of the diaspora, how they feel about this election and how they feel about the candidates. Now let's remember, lots of people from the continent of Africa, and I can't say everyone because you cannot tar everybody with the same brush, but lots of people that I have spoken to are very conservative in their values, Christian and Muslim, and that means they naturally lean towards a Republican candidate. However, there is a lot of people also that feel that a Democratic candidate is better for the issues of immigration and integration and not the othering of others, which Republicans tend to do as well. So it is very, very much a mixed bag. Here where we are at this particular rally, it's very, very Democratic heavy. Everybody is here to see Harris Walls, and you see a lot of people who are black and who are of the African diaspora and are very, very excited at the prospect of a female black president and of South Asian Asian descent. This is something that's very, very exciting for them. And so there's a feeling that if you have someone in the White House that looks like them, perhaps more things will be done. And there's other people that feel that if you have someone in the White House who shares the same values as them, that will be done as well. So there's a lot more to play for in this election rather than just race. Values and class also play a really, really huge part. So people from the diaspora that I have spoken to have very, very, very mixed views. And I think that's what makes this race so close and also so exciting, right? We've been saying that it's neck and neck for weeks, and that absolutely has not changed. So I think it remains to be seen, obviously, when the polls close, which is going to happen in about an hour and 20 minutes here in Washington, D.C., and we start getting results in, we'll see how those votes are split.
You talked about security and how tight security has been and increased in the last couple of days leading up to the election and final day for November 5th. And we've also seen reports of how the Vice President's house, and that's Kamala Harris, has been warded off as well. We also saw how the White House as well has been having barriers and warded up and just going up. So I want to understand, you know, you talking to the people, did they also express concerns about security given January 6th attack on the Capitol from 2021?
Look, yesterday when we were out speaking to people, when we saw shops being boarded up, when we were speaking to people in shops that we were in whilst we were out and about when we were filming, there was definitely a lot of concern. We were situated more around the White House, and that is an area as well as the White House, you have the US Capitol there as well. Lots of important government buildings were being boarded up, and there seemed to be more worry and concern there. Today at polling stations, people seemed a lot more relaxed, a lot more calm than they were yesterday. In a lot of polling stations, there was a kind of festival atmosphere. We saw a couple of people who voted for the first time and they got cheers in the polling station. And here where we are now, this is definitely a festival atmosphere. Yes, there is a lot of security, but there's also a real sense of excitement in the air as well. So I would say today feels different than yesterday. Absolutely. Today feels much more relaxed. And to be honest, I thought it would have been the other way round. But like I said, the polls close soon in just over an hour. And that's where perhaps tensions could rise. That's where perhaps things could change. If we get results in that are unexpected or don't go certain people's way, then that's perhaps where tensions might shift, where things may change. But there is a high security presence even where we are. But the police that we have spoken to along the way, like I said, everybody very relaxed, very helpful, very willing to talk to people. So at the moment, it's a festival type atmosphere. At the moment, it is relaxed. But like I said, things could change.
All right, things could change, no doubt. Well, we'll get back to you, Afia Hagen. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Hopefully, when we do get back to you, we would get to see images and footage of what the festival is actually looking like. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Let's head back to our distinguished gentlemen who have joined us as well. I don't know who to go to, but I think I'm going to go to you, Dr. Uche Odims. I know you had alluded to it in your first commentary when you spoke to us, answering Judith's question. But we did hear from our international correspondent there saying it's a festival. From the top of my head, I'm thinking we see people holding hands, the atmosphere and every single thing, kind of like excited compared to what we saw here in 2023, where canes, or better still, people were flogged and beaten and threats were being made. How far do you think Nigeria and other African countries have in order to catch up with what we're seeing there on the screen?
Just like I said before, and I'm saying it again, the worst of the candidates in the United States of America is better than anybody called a president or whoever in Africa. I have a lot to learn, a whole lot to learn. From what the correspondent said, he said that out there that Kamala Harris and her people in the school, in high school and all, that they are actually working towards a celebration in the school. Same thing with Donald Trump. We didn't hear anything about maybe military men or police coming to hijack people, beat up people and all the rest of it and all. Nothing like that. There's no scare. There's no scare. And I was actually waiting to hear that there's a curfew in America because of the election. No. I mean, everybody going about their normal business, doing what they're expected to do and the rest of it. I was in the US, I just came back. I was in Atlanta, in New York. I had a couple of programs and conferences to speak in and the rest of it. I just came back, and when I was talking to them, it's nothing. I mean, okay, the election, yeah. You ask the person, so what are you going to vote for? I'm going to vote for this person. I mean, normal. The other person will say, I'm going to vote for the other person. Normal. But in Nigeria is war. In Africa is war. African leaders need to learn. We have light years. And when people give this excuse, when they say things like, American democracy is, centuries. I mean,
centuries,
it's hundreds of years. They've been existing for hundreds of years now. I laugh. You know why I laugh? Why? Because anybody giving any excuse like that right now is actually not understanding the trend. The truth of the matter is that then what brings about transformation? Transformation comes by information. Information is what brings about transformation. Knowledge is light. It brings about change and the rest of it. Now, in those days when the Americans started their democracy and the rest of it, in 18th century, 17th century and the rest of it, they didn't have they didn't have the internet. They didn't have a website. The world was not a global village. It was difficult to disseminate information from one point to the other. But now, we are looking at, even when you look at businesses and all, the kind of money Uber has made just within a short period of time, compared to it in those days, you can't make it within that short period of time. I mean, things have changed because there is information technology, there is tech available. So when we hear things like, we are growing, how long do you want to grow? In fact, because of technology right now, we are supposed to do better. Africa should do better. I love what is going on. People are just going about their business, doing what they need to do. The truth of the matter is that nobody is going to help us grow Africa. Nobody, except us in Africa. If we are waiting for America to come and help us, all the election, I've heard about push outs in America, come and help, come and do this one or that. Did you see any of them come to Nigeria? No. They are all interested about what benefits them and all. The earlier we understand that it's only Africans that can help Africa, only Africa that can build Africa, only Nigerians that can build Nigeria, the earlier we understand that, the better. And we need to stand up. Right now, I see a lot of people in various parts of the world, the blacks and the rest of it, talking about America, people in America and the rest, even Nigerians have joined and whatever. Talk about your own nation. Your nation is in turmoil. Your nation is almost heading to disaster. Let's talk about our own country. Let's talk about our democracy. Let's talk about our leadership. Let's forget about America. I've said it before, the worst president there, the worst leader there is better than the best of the leader in Africa, in Nigeria. Let's talk about our own. Because the truth is this, I would like to tell you this, that right now, everybody's focus is in Africa. Everybody. There's a program we are planning to hold in a couple of months from now. It's going to be only in Washington, D.C. It's all about Africa. Even them in the US, them in Europe and all, they all know that the in thing now, the in thing right now globally is Africa. The people that cannot see it is Africans and their leadership. This is our time. And we need to build our own continent and build our nation. We should learn from them, not criticize, and not where I should be on their behalf. We should think of our own country and work on it. That's my take on this. It's very important that we look inwards and build our own continent and our nation. Very important.
There was a bureau was sharing earlier. I'm going to share those videos again of Ethiopians Ethiopians in diaspora who are campaigning for Trump. You can see them hoisting their Ethiopian flag as well as the American flag, and they are campaigning for Trump. This is the information we get. It's quite interesting to see those visuals. And let me come to you, Nnamdi, right? You are the author of Africa on the Precipice, and you have been continually preaching about Africa's advancement. And so I have to ask you, what would it take for us to get to that stage? Dr. Uche has alluded that even though America has had hundreds of years to sort of fine-tune the democracy, right, that is no excuse for the African continent. So what would it take for us to get to that point where it's no more voter oppression, voter intimidation, and having Africans that are African leaders who care about the voters and the citizens in general?
but I think I have to disagree with the premise of the question. This idea that African countries, African governments, and African leaders have so much to learn from the Western world is ridiculous. And I think it's a misunderstanding, really, of the underpinnings of Western societies and Western governments. I have lived on and off in the United States for almost 24 years, and I've never been impressed by what I've seen here. There's no difference between the United States, as I see it, in terms of the moral fabric, in terms of the social fabric of this country, and somewhere in Ajegunle or Mushin State, quite frankly. The only thing they've been able to do better than us is build better roads and have shiny buildings. But apart from that, if you're talking about the essence and the quality of the people and the leadings of the people, this idea that the United States or Western society is this kind of shining example on a hill is ridiculous, especially when you consider that whether it's historically or today, most of the geopolitical issues we face today is because of horrendous Western management of global geopolitical affairs. The United States is sitting there sponsoring an entire genocide in Palestine. The United States is sitting there funding a proxy war in Central Europe as far as Ukraine and Russia is concerned. The United States is sitting there antagonizing China in an area of the world where they have no business in, and it's all about American imperialism. And then in terms of leadership, it says a lot about a society that half of a country in the United States can find it within themselves to prop up a man like Donald Trump as their representative. A man, which I would say in Igbo, which means that he has no respect and no sanctity for anything. And this is the best that America can produce as far as the candidates is concerned. What is the difference between Donald Trump and Wike and Godswill Akpabio in Nigeria? I don't think there's much difference. So this idea that we somehow have to emulate the Western world is completely unfounded. Because with all the problems that we have in Africa, we've never had, for the most part, Ghana wake up one day and say it's going to take over Nigeria, the same way that the Russians are doing in Ukraine. So we have our problems, but to emulate the West, to emulate the East is not the answer, and certainly should not be our goal. In fact, I would say that our answer and our goal is to go back to our authentic socio-economic and political models that worked for us for centuries before our interaction with the foreign world. So we need to throw away this idea that somehow our democratic institutions, our forms of governance have to mirror the West. Because after all, this same Donald Trump that we're talking about here, he was the one that orchestrated January 6th. The man attempted to pull off a coup. So what is the difference between him and any other military regime that's been in existence in Nigeria? And that's an issue that I think we are underplaying in this election, which is that if Donald Trump loses, will he go quietly? Because this time around, he has a lot to lose in this election. This is a man that, if he doesn't win this election, has a high probability of going to prison and losing a lot of wealth because of he has 34 cases against him.
All right, Mr. Nandi, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you, but I think we've picked a few points that you made, and would like to hold you on to those points. But let's go straight to Collins. Collins, I'd like you to, I'm aware that you've spent a lot of time focusing on some of the multilateral and, of course, investments that spans across Africa and European and Western countries. But we do understand that the African Growth and Opportunity Act has been on for 2 decades now, and it's helped Africa export its products, its goods into the United States of America's market. If Donald Trump wins, there's a likelihood that he would look to continue AGOA and further open up the borders for more African countries to ship in their products and so on and so forth, much more like beneficial to both the United States and Africa. Could you expand more on the possibilities of what this would bring to Africa? Or do you think that Africans should start looking at other means in which they can actually make a lot of gains, aside from focusing on the United States of America?
Well, thank you, Joe. The point is that Africa has got to make a needs analysis. The time, is dead and buried, where Africa leans on a particular economy, in this case, United States of America, or United Kingdom for historical reasons or, language considerations and all of that. Now, Africa should be wherever, offers them the best, competitive advantage. That's number 1 point. Number 2 point is that, whoever wins, Harris or Trump, like I said earlier, would consider first and foremost what is in need for the United States of America in any trade relations, that they want to go into. Now, we can, however, expect that, President Harris will be expected to continue some of, some aspects of Biden's administration's policies, which have, focus on building economic ties with Africa, expanding their bilateral, actually multilateral, partnership and relationship, whereas for Trump, it is actually tearing those, partnerships down. I think we're set to see more diversifying of trade using AGUA, as an example, and supporting initiatives, like, I think Biden called it Power Africa and Power Africa projects, So those are the sort of economic relationships that they're going to have. Now, for Trump, I think it's much more transactional. We're going to see him, support more military hardware purchases. Now, what he aims at, and he's not, he's not grounded in policy. He's not the kind of person that thinks, long term with strong, policy fundamentals. No, he is looking at what will benefit him personally as a businessman, or by extension, United States of America. So he will sell arms to any African country, including Ethiopia, for instance. The people that are celebrating him, whether they are using it to kill, one another, is not any of his business. As far as the money comes to America, and he's not willing to actually look at, human rights issues in Africa as a condition. No, he will close his eyes to all of those, and just go ahead and transact with you if it will benefit him, or by extension, United States of America.
Very interesting
well, we must say,
yeah.
We must say thank you to our guests today for joining us. It's been quite an insightful conversation. First of all, many thanks to Dr. Uche here, Dr. Uche Odems, who is a co-founder, GEA Africa Foundation. And also, we want to say thank you to Collins Nwike. He is a global affairs analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in and having this insightful discussion regarding the U.S. elections and the implications on the U.S.-Africa bilateral relationship. Once again, many thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, stick around. There's still plenty more coming up right here for our live coverage of the U.S. elections. Plenty more. Still, don't go anywhere.